take a good long look, because this will be the last time we'll be taking a look at this IBM Thinkpad R60 on video. Nothing looks askance at first until we begin to take a closer look at the rear of the computer. I noticed its disreputable nature, complete with broken hinges, plastic broken, a sheared off display cable, and in fact the only connection that this screen still maintains to the rest of the computer is that of the wireless radio. You may actually be able to get a better look at just how deformed, misshapen, and broken this screen is, unless this is some sort of a newfangled design from Thinkpad I haven't yet heard of. I don't think it's supposed to look anything like this. The bottom portion of the computer, nothing is obviously wrong with it until we come up here. We notice the power connection and part of the heat pipe and the keyboard, which is loose. Enter the Lenovo Thinkpad T series, which is my interim replacement until I find an adequate and suitable replacement of the Thinkpad R60, which does suit my needs. And at first glance it looks pretty much the same as any other ThinkPad. You'll notice that it does have a 16:10 aspect ratio screen, of which I'm not a major fan, and so I would really like to have a 4:3 aspect ratio screen, but judging by Lenovo's present offerings, I think it would be an uphill battle trying to find a ThinkPad with not only a 4:3 aspect ratio screen, but also a traditional keyboard. There is a fingerprint reader if you demand the utmost security. A traditional password will be more than enough for me, so I won't find myself using that. This is the 14.1-inch 16:10 model. I don't know that Lenovo made other T400 laptops with differently sized screens, but I do know that the 14.1-inch models do usually have the speakers on the left and right of the keyboard, whereas the over 15-inch models have the speakers located atop the left and right portions of the keyboard. It's also interesting to note that Lenovo elected to move the keyboard light favoring the left side of the keyboard, and that's probably because many ThinkPads share the same screen and or template. This ThinkPad, unlike the earlier models, does have a rubberized finish, which I'm still getting used to, and it could be a good thing if you like to hang on to your computer. People say it does add a nice finishing touch to it. This computer does come with a 4-pin FireWire connection, which is useful in my scenario, being that I primarily deal with using digital 8 and mini DV camcorders whose video needs to be transferred digitally to the computer over a FireWire connection. There are separate headphone and microphone connections. It isn't one of those stupid combined jacks, which makes it a chore if you want to use both a handset, or rather headphones, and a microphone. But I've noticed that when I have my headphones plugged in here, it actually gets in the way, because I like to rest my hand over here, and instead of just having it rest flat on the surface below the computer, my hand ends up resting on the connector for the headphones. The hard drive bay is located on the right, as is the DVD-RW multi-drive, which is thinner than that which was equipped on the previous generations of ThinkPads that I'm accustomed to using. And we do have a vertical oriented USB connection, a Kensington lock, power connection, VGA for an external display, 2 more vertically oriented USB 2.0 ports, and not only a gigabit Ethernet port, but also a 56K modem, which I was surprised to see still included on this newer model ThinkPad. And you do have what I believe to be a PC card / express card combo slot. Its underside is devoid of the rubberized finish present on the top of the LCD display, although that point would probably be moot, since this is going to be facing down anyway. It really wouldn't have any point. And this has the, I believe, a Windows XP certificate of authenticity, whose writing is completely worn off and can't even be discerned as to what the key actually is. I was surprised to see that this computer did come complete with a genuine Lenovo 10.8 volt 5.2 amp hour battery, which has and holds a good charge. seems these ThinkPad batteries don't last all that long, and when they go, and they don't seem to work that well. I don't know what this mystery liquid is that seems to be on different parts of the computer, but you can see it looks like some sort of a greasy liquid. I don't know what that is, if it's from the battery or something else, but I cleaned off the majority of it on this computer, but I don't really know what's causing it. The microphone was also moved from the palm rest to the display. Pressing the ThinkVantage button should get us into the BIOS. Stuck key 1C. Well, that shouldn't be stuck, but nothing surprises me. Windows 7 Professional Service Pack 1 is the operating system of choice, and so it shouldn't take too long to start this computer up. I believe Windows XP drivers are also available for this model, but they might be impossible to find, knowing Lenovo's way of disorganizing their website. Having the speakers oriented toward you as opposed to pointing downward at whichever surface you have the computer sitting on is a major improvement in intelligibility and fidelity in general, as well as the stereo separation. They aren't going to win any awards from audiophiles, but they do get the job done, more so than the older ThinkPad series. And one nice thing is that the sound card is shielded quite a bit better, or at least the components of this computer are shielded quite a bit better from electrical interference, because the older ThinkPad I was using, a Thinkpad R60, had an issue with the noise from the disk drive making its way into the sound card as something like a ticking sound every few seconds. And it was quite a bit frustrating when listening to either classical music or something with quiet portions in the audio, or even when you weren't doing anything at all but you had headphones on, you just hear this ticking sound every several seconds. And this computer has a 3.4 Windows Experience Index, and I bet it scored the lowest in the graphics department. Yes, it did. But the hard drive is good. Memory is good. It has 4 gigabytes of RAM. Didn't come equipped with any of the ThinkPad or ThinkVantage programs necessary to operate it to its fullest, such as enabling and disabling the Bluetooth and the wireless, or rather the cellular connectivity. But for some reason, I don't know why this stupid cellular connectivity keeps coming on, even though I disable it every time I go to turn on the computer. See, it just keeps turning on even though I tell it to power off, and then it resets and forgets its state of power whenever you resume from hibernation, which is a pain because it's wasting power, and it's needless since I'm not going to be using it with a cellular data connection. All of the ThinkVantage programs necessary are installed, but I was surprised to see that they were no longer located within the Start menu, but they actually moved over to the control panel, and you can see everything here. I did get the genuine Lenovo AC adapter. This is a 90 watt 20 volt model. It's actually heavier than the one which came with the R60. It feels a lot more durable too, but they're both genuine Lenovo brands, or at least I believe the R60's charger to be genuine. I haven't thoroughly examined it. I can't tell you what a chore it was trying to track down the right on-screen display drivers for this machine so that you actually have an on-screen display and representation of the current volume and screen brightness controls, along with different settings such as the ThinkPad keyboard light. And you can see that the hotkeys feature integration program that comes up when searching for the T400 drivers claims it is compatible not only with Windows 8 32-bit and 64-bit versions, but also 32 and 64-bit versions of Windows 7, Vista, XP, and even Windows 2000. This is version 3.89.0100, and no matter what I tried, it would not work. I tried installing it, reinstalling it, going through a certain methodology of installing the other drivers and utilities before installing the hotkeys integration program, as advised by many on several ThinkPad related forums, all to no success until I did some thorough scavenging online and came across an older version which works just fine. If I actually close the screen right now and dislodge the battery from its resting place, you'll see the SIM card slot here presently just has a plastic blank in here. I don't know what this thing is. And you can insert your SIM card here. As a result of using a new white LED as opposed to the amber LED which was present in the older ThinkPad I owned, it does assist you in seeing the keyboard, but it's significantly dimmer and makes it harder to see, and also the right portion of the keyboard is left out quite a bit in terms of lighting. So this is nice and bright, and this is kind of dark and harder to see. And this is with a very low light sensitive camera, so it looks better than it really is. It's very dark and dim. And now here we go with a sample of the onboard sound. I'm not too sure if it's very audible on the camera, but there is appreciable amount of stereo separation shared between the two speakers. Unfortunately, I was going to give you a brief demonstration of Winamp running through the digital breakaway broadcast audio processor, just to see how much sound fidelity we could squeeze out of these two speakers, but I don't think that's going to happen because it seems like Winamp is having another one of its episodes and not wanting to play anything even though it's properly configured. Well, Windows Experience Index certainly wasn't lying when I said that the graphics on this computer weren't all that great. You can see I tried running a flash benchmark test and it failed on the heavy setting, not even the heaviest setting, at only 23.7 frames per second. Now, I regret to inform everyone that I am not going to be keeping this ThinkPad. In fact, I was just borrowing it, not only to use it in the interim of, well, since the ThinkPad R60 no longer works, but also to evaluate the T400 series of ThinkPad, as I was considering purchasing one, and it really is a nice, fully featured and well-equipped machine, complete with its matte display, traditional ThinkPad keyboard, rubberized finish on the lid, the 6-cell battery, or maybe even a 9-cell, I don't remember, and the FireWire connection. But while it is a great computer, I still like the 4:3 aspect ratio, as well as prefer it over 16:10 and 16:9 display computers. And yes, I know I'm several years late to the party, because as it stands... Ever wonder what the critical battery alarm sounds like when you're in the BIOS of a ThinkPad when the battery is critically low? Well, you're about to find out. I don't know what could be causing that, but I'm pretty sure that smoke isn't supposed to be coming out of your laptop. Phew, it stinks too.